Hello and welcome to our writing lesson. Now today's writing lesson will be a little bit different because we're actually going to write a weather report. So to start us off, I want you to watch this video and I want you to think about what does the reporter tell you? So what's the content of his report? And is there a particular order that he tells you it in? So how would you organise your weather report?
Hello, it's the start of what will be a very cold week, and for some there's more snow to come as well. Significant wind chill as that easterly wind really makes it feel bitter out there, and it's in the east where we're going to see most of the snow showers, and we have still warnings in place. Amber weather warning today across parts of Lincolnshire, into parts of South Yorkshire, and one for Tuesday across central parts of Scotland. Let's look at the bigger picture. It's from the east, from the near continent where the air is coming from. We can see the showers really in lines here on the radar, and that's what's going to make the detail difficult, because some places are going to get shower after shower, whereas others may not see too much. We do have an amber warning in place across parts of Lincolnshire and South Yorkshire for the rest of the afternoon until 2 o'clock, where we could see several centimetres of snow, maybe 15 over the Lincolnshire wolds. And all the while down the eastern side, the snow showers continue, and again several more centimetres possible, but because they're in those bands, some places will see several centimetres, others may not see much at all. Certainly in the west it's looking largely dry, fine, some sunshine, especially for Northern Ireland and western Scotland, but it is cold out there. This is what the thermometer reads, close to freezing. Some places may stay below all day, and add on that wind, well, it feels more like -6, -7, even colder on some of those North Sea coasts. So a raw feeling Monday, and it doesn't really change much through the evening and overnight. The snow showers continue to come in. Just a bit concerned about the snow really starting to build up through central parts of Scotland as we go into Tuesday. Again, obviously everything could turn very icy as we go through the night, also with temperatures dropping down below freezing. That wind helping to stop temperatures dropping too far, but certainly down below freezing in most towns and cities. And again, if you are out at all through the night or first thing in the morning, it will feel cold. Warning still in place then for much of Tuesday, including an amber warning across parts of central Scotland, Stirling, Perthshire in particular. That's where we could see 20, possibly 25 centimetres of snow as the showers build up here. A few snow flurries for Northern Ireland, could be icy here too, and those snow showers just keep on coming in on that easterly wind across parts of eastern England, all the while into bands. So again, some places seeing shower after shower. 5 miles away and may not see much at all. Certainly further south and further west, many places dry and fine on Tuesday, but again, even if you've got the sunshine, it does feel cold. Temperatures 1-2 degrees at best for most. Significant wind chill, with it feeling more like -4 to -7 Celsius. That cold winds may show signs of easing off a little bit as we go through Tuesday night and into Wednesday. That will allow temperatures to really fall away. It's going to get very cold, especially where there's snow lying on the ground on both Tuesday night and Wednesday night, because the cold is set to last for most of this week. That wind chill, as I say, will become less of a feature this week as the winds through the middle of the week start to ease, and the snow showers in the east will start to ease, but there is some uncertainty later in the week. We could start to see some weather coming in from the west, hitting that cold air and bringing some more snow. So make sure you keep up to date, because things are very lively through this week. We already have warnings in place. You can view those for yourself on the app. Of course, you'll always get more if you follow us on social media.
So, he told us what weather is happening just now across the country. So, whether it was snowing, whether it was windy, whether it was raining. He told us the temperatures. Now, you can see they were on the screen, but he also did a sort of overview of the average temperature in different parts of the country. He spoke about where the weather was coming from, so whether it was north, east, south or west, and he might have said northeast or southwest, so that you knew where the wind was blowing the weather. He gives details about particular areas, so you might have heard him talk about the north of Scotland, the south of Scotland, or the central belt. And he talks about the amount of snow, and particularly in centimetres. He also mentions warnings. So an amber warning is where there's a little bit of risk, so you need to be careful on the roads, particularly if you're driving. And a red warning is where it's a higher risk. Sometimes they even say don't go out unless absolutely necessary, because there's such a high risk. Particularly very far up north at the moment in Scotland, the snow is pretty much, people are snowed in, so they're getting told not to go out in their car at all because it's just very risky. So that's why weather reports mention the amber and the red warnings. And then at the end he gives a summary of what the weather's going to be like throughout the day and a prediction of what it's going to be like tomorrow. So these are the things that you're going to cover in your weather report. So our learning intentions, we're learning how to write a weather report. Your success criteria is I can use headings to organise my information. I can use the relevant language. And as a chilly challenge, I can use punctuation to emphasise and contrast. So, why might headings be useful for a weather report? Pause this video now and have a little think. Well, headings are used to organise information into relevant sections. I've got a silly example here, but taking care of your cat. So it's organised into nutrition, water and food. So if you wanted to just know about a particular aspect of that, you would only have to go to that heading and then read the section underneath. And that's the kind of thing we've been using headings for in class, particularly for non-fiction books. If we want to scan for a certain piece of information, we can use the headings or the content page to help us find that information. But in this case, we're going to use it to organise information into the relevant sections that will benefit us. They tend to be bigger, bolder text and underlined, like you can see on the left here. And that just so it really stands out. If you had it the same size as the rest of your writing, or it wasn't underlined, or it wasn't bold, then it's harder to detect that as a heading. It kind of just blends in with the rest of your writing. So it's important that you either have it underlined, a bigger size, or in bold. And sometimes people have it in the middle. In a weather report, you can use headings to organise your script so that you know what you're saying when. Now, this is also a really useful skill that you can apply to maybe a class talk, presenting in an assembly, and then further on when you go to high school and you may have to do group presentations, and even further on when you might have to do job interviews. So it's a really important skill to be able to organise your notes with headings to make it easier for you. So what headings might you have in your report for your weather? I want you to pause this video now, have a little think about what we spoke about at the beginning in the starter task to help you think about what headings would you use to organise your weather report. So you would have an introduction. That would be your first heading. So you may introduce yourself, say today's date, and possibly give a rough summary of the weather today. For example, good morning everyone, my name is Miss Taylor. It is Monday the 8th of February. Today has been quite cold temperatures ranging between 0 degrees and -3, and there has been heavy snow showers throughout the day with breaks of sunshine. So that would be written down for me to remember, and that's your introduction. You then might want to go into more detail with the temperatures. So you might say across the central belt the highest temperature throughout the day was 3 degrees, dropping down to a temperature of -4 degrees at night. The coldest part of the country was in Inverness at -8 degrees. You might want to challenge yourself and talk about the whole of the UK. Or you might want to just focus on Scotland just to make it a little bit more manageable. That's completely up to you. You might want to talk about wind separately. What's the average speed for that day? What direction is it coming from? So for example, there is a wind speed of 20 miles an hour coming in a northeasterly direction. This wind is helping the snow blow over the country. You might want to talk about weather warnings. Are there any warnings for that day? So for example, today there is an amber warning for snow, as there may be heavy snow in particular areas of Scotland. The amber warning is mainly for the central belt, as that is where the snow is going to be landing most heavily. You might want to talk about other weather types. Is it raining? You could state the rainfall in centimetres or snowfall in centimetres. Or maybe it's cloudy with spells of sunshine. And then end with a summary of the weather for that day and what it's looking for, like for the next day. So for example, today has been low temperatures ranging between 0 and -3 degrees. There has been snow showers throughout the day with breaks of sunshine. Tomorrow it looks quite similar, a little bit less snow and some rainfall. Now I haven't actually checked tomorrow's weather, so that might not be correct. Just made that up just there and then. But that's just an example of what you could put in your weather report. So we also have to think about, like all pieces of writing, what vocabulary are we going to use? And we need to make sure that it's relevant vocabulary. So in a weather report, what key words do you think you're going to use? Pause this video now and have a little think. Well, here are some keywords that you're likely to use. First of all, we have the type of weather. You might say it's cloudy, overcast. Remember, overcast means that the whole sky is basically covered. You can't see individual clouds. Sunny intervals, where there's breaks of sunshine and then the clouds cover. You might have strong winds, say strong winds. Snow, heavy snow. Rain, light rain, heavy rain. You might say snow shower, sleet. You talk about the temperature in degrees Celsius. Remember, we measure temperature in Celsius. Later on, I have put a clip to give you some ideas. And now that's an American clip. It was a really useful clip, but they measure the temperature in Fahrenheit. So it looks a lot, the Fahrenheit goes to bigger numbers. So don't get confused with that. Make sure that you're only doing it in Celsius. You might talk about the breeze. In the weather report that we showed at the beginning, he talks about the wind chill. Now, wind chill is basically you have the temperature that is in the air, but you can also have wind chill, which makes it feel colder because the wind is blowing that cold air. You might say it's going to be a clear night. You might even want to mention the moon. So if you really want to challenge yourself, you could, sometimes in weather reports they say tonight's going to be a full moon. And then you also have your east, northwest, east and south points. Okay, so remember that never eat shredded wheat. North, east, south, west. Now, if you want to challenge yourself a wee bit more, you could use geography, vocabulary for the geography of Scotland or the UK, but I would just focus on Scotland because they've not done this before, so let's just make it sure it's manageable for us all. Now, I've put an arrow here for the central belt because that's really where Falkirk Stirling's based under. And then you might talk about the far north of Scotland. Remember, the more north we go, the colder it is, so there's a higher chance of heavy snow. You might talk about the Highlands, the borders, so that's the borders from Scotland to England. And you might talk about the east or the southwest. Depends how much detail you want to go into. And don't worry, I do not expect you to go to as much detail as the video that I showed at the beginning, okay? That was just an example for you to see all the different kinds of information you can get in a weather report. This is going to be a much more simplified version, okay? Using punctuation. Well, we can use different punctuation to emphasise and to contrast. And I'm going to just explain how you could use this in your weather report. Now this is a chilly challenge, so if you don't want to take this challenge, just listen to it just now, and you can maybe take that challenge in writing in the future. But if you feel, yep, I want to take this challenge, then go for it. So bold, putting writing in bold, which is really like capital letters or a bigger font, so writing it bigger, that puts emphasis on how bad the weather is. So for example, it will be freezing. There will be temperatures of -10 exclamation mark. So by putting that punctuation in, you know to read it in that tone and put emphasis on it. Italics can also be used for emphasis, but they can also be used for contrasting. And what that means is making a contrast between weather in one part of the country to another. So for example, in the north of Scotland, it will be -8 degrees. However, in the central belt, it will be highs of 6 degrees. So notice how I changed my tone of voice because that was in italics to show that there's a contrast in the temperature. And remember to put speech marks around the parts you're speaking, because when you're writing a report, you might put little notes for yourself that you're not necessarily going to say out loud. For example, you're not going to say your headings out loud, but you would say what's under your headings. So therefore you put that in speech marks. So your task. First thing you want to do is to write out your headings. So you can rewind this video as a recap. I'm also going to upload a template if you want the challenge, but you can make your own one. Sorry, I'm going to upload a template for support, but if you want to challenge yourself, you can make your own one, okay? Then write your weather report script under the relevant headings. So make sure when you write your headings, you can either write one at a time and complete each one, or just leave a few lines between each one. So go back to the beginning of the video to help with what you're going to say. Now, on the screenshot here, this is Tuesday's weather, so I'm filming this on Monday, but this will be the weather report that you are reporting on. Now, you can use this screenshot here to describe the weather. You could use what it's like outside your window, or I'm going to put on a few links that will take you to weather reports for you to use. And the chilly challenge would be to use the punctuation techniques that we went over. So to recap, you're going to write a weather report about the weather in Scotland today. So that's Tuesday the 9th of February. You need to have your headings so that you know what you're saying clearly, and you need to write the relevant information about the temperature, about the wind, about the direction of the wind, about any warnings, and the different types of weather. And you can use punctuation to emphasise and contrast the weather. Make sure you read it over so that it all makes sense. Now, the second part of our learning today is listening and talking. Now, this is an optional task, as I know some of you may not be able to do this today, but it will be really fun if you want to give it a go, and there's different options you can take. So what makes a good presenter? Pause this video now and have a little think. Eye contact. It's really important you look at the person who you're talking to. Now in this case, obviously it's virtual, so if you're going to film yourself, you might want to film it if you want to upload it for me to see. You obviously need to look directly into the camera. Or maybe you just want to present it to your family. Then you'd need to look at them because they're your audience. A clear voice and good volume. You want to make sure that your audience can hear you and make out exactly what you're saying. So you need to have a clear, confident voice and not too loud and not too quiet. Be organised. And what I mean by that is either you have your script in front of you, maybe organised in your notes, or you learn it off by heart. Now that might be very tricky to learn it off by heart. I certainly don't expect anyone to have done that by this stage. But it's really important to think about that for future. As you get older, you can get better at rehearsing things and becoming more confident with that. But for now, you can have your notes in front of you. And enthusiasm. Make sure it sounds like you're happy to be there and that you're really interested in what you're talking about. And you can do that through your tone of voice and your body language. So you're now ready to become a weather presenter. So you'll write your weather report and then you can present it. Now you can either present it just to your family, you can film it and upload it if you want, or you could just do a voice recording. It's totally up to you. I've also put a link on our timetable with a video of primary school children in America who have done some presenting, because they have some props in the background that you might want to do. Again, you don't have to, but some of them have drawn the weather forecast so that they've got it to refer to behind them. So that's another thing you could do if you wanted to. I hope you enjoyed this task and you can give me some feedback of how you get on. And I'm looking forward to seeing your weather reports and possibly even some presentations.